Hey everybody, mentioned this on the Tuesday show, but if you're just catching up, I'm taking a few weeks off to work on something. I don't want to say more for now, but I'm very excited to tell you about it when I'm back. And have no fear, while I'm out, we've lined up an absolutely bonkers lineup of guest hosts. Maria Bamford hosted the show Tuesday, and we've got Andy Richter, Louis Virtel, Larry Wilmore, Adam Rippon, Matt Rogers, Ian Carmel, Langston Kerman, Guy Branum, and more coming your way. Check out What a Weekday every Tuesday and the live show every Saturday until I'm back in time for our first tour show in Charlotte, North Carolina on June 19th. If you're in LA, you can grab tickets to live shows at crooked.com/events. Please come see these fantastic guest hosts. And listen, I was pretty worried that these shows would be too good, thereby exposing my weaknesses and revealing how great this show could be in more talented hands. But I was told that requiring the guest host to take a melatonin gummy before recording was bad sportsmanship, which is a gendered term. See you in a few weeks when we hit the road starting in North Carolina. And without further ado, onto the show with the one and only Andy Richter.
Love it or leave it.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. Welcome to Love It or Leave It. As you can probably tell from my voice and general lack of anxiety, I am not Jon Lovett. Jon is getting a full-body tuck. Just something. He's going to come back. He's just going to look like a flesh clam. I am Andy Richter, and I am the guest host this week. And tonight on the show, my pal Andy Daly is here, and he's full of shit. Yamaneika Saunders and Jared Goldstein bring me up to speed, and then it's on to the rant wheel. But first, let's get into what happened this week. What a week. According to a new report by the New York Times, during a 2012 deposition during his divorce proceedings, RFK Jr. said that doctors found a dead worm in his brain. The cause of the worm's death was ruled to be suicide. I feel a little responsible because when I wished on that cursed monkey paw that RFK Jr. would be more like JFK, I didn't mean present-day JFK. You know, the most disturbing thing was actually when he said, "I have a dead worm in my brain," he was just answering a lawyer who asked, "Is this your signature?" Now, to hear Kennedy tell it, he was experiencing fogginess and a loss of memory, and he visited a number of physicians in an attempt to suss out the source. His doctors found a dark spot on his brain, and assuming it was a tumor, scheduled a surgery. Now, while he packed for his trip to go get the surgery, RFK Jr. got a phone call. The hole on the scan was actually caused by a parasite. Now, is it insane to say that I feel like he's just bragging? Like I'm so fucked up that my brain tumor is actually a worm? Or maybe my brain's so delicious? I mean, should really grow up. My real goal in life now is to never end up in a situation where news breaks that a brain-eating worm died in my skull, and the resounding response is, it checks out. I can buy it. Now, according to Kennedy, this doctor said the spot was caused by a worm that got into my brain, ate a portion of it, and then died. Kennedy added, "I know there will be jokes about this, but before you poke fun, you should know when the worm died, it took a shit inside my brain." And not to be a bummer, just a reminder, this is our second best option for president speaking right now. And we should all lie down for that. Kennedy had been traveling in South Asia, and experts consulted by the Times suggested that it was most likely he had contracted pork tapeworm larvae during his trip. The CDC says pork tapeworm eggs can enter the brain if you ingest the fecal matter of an infected person. Yep, that's right. If you eat the shit of an infected person. And, you know, personally, I wouldn't worry about what's in the vaccines if I got brain damage from eating too many turds. And so other than that, how was the South Asia trip, Mr. Kennedy? Other than the brainworm from eating turds. You know, it all makes sense because if you've been paying attention, he has been eating so much shit throughout this campaign. As I mentioned earlier, the deposition took place during divorce proceedings, and RFK Jr. volunteered his medical history in order to argue that his brain problems reduced his ability to earn money and presumably pay alimony. To which I say, yay, men. Wow, we're the best. And not only that, the worm had full access to his bank account and had spent so much of Kennedy's money on high-end dirt and silk pillowcases. And also sports betting. That's an Ohtani joke for you. Around the same time, RFK Jr. said he was also diagnosed with mercury poisoning, most likely due to eating too many fish. That guy really did not want to pay for alimony. Like, I don't, not just the brainworm, I got mercury poisoning too, which, it's sort of like slow down there, Heathcliff. And while we're at it, Kennedy has a heart condition in which stress, caffeine, or a lack of sleep can cause an arrhythmia. Explained Kennedy, "It feels like there's a bag of worms in my chest. I can feel it immediately when it goes out." He is the Rasputin of fringe presidential candidates. Not even his body fully revolting against itself can stop him from hitting the campaign trail. Although in hindsight, I can see why his campaign slogan of, "I'm a giant squirming mass of worms in a skin suit," it's pretty good. It's bullseye. Although people are calling this the election cycle's most heartwarming story. I told them. Anyway, RFK Jr. also mentioned in the deposition that he once contracted hepatitis C from using intravenous drugs. I'm sorry, what does this man think the vaccine is going to do to his body that hasn't already happened yet, that he hasn't done to himself? Kennedy also has spasmodic dysphonia in which his vocal cords contract involuntarily. We've all heard it. Doctors think, though, that this may be just his body's way of telling him to shut the fuck up. The presidential hopeful told a reporter last year that he had traveled to Japan to get titanium implanted into his throat tissue to prevent his vocal cords from contracting. Whatever you prefer. That's a very, some say contracting, some say contracting. Speaking of Kennedys, while RFK Jr.'s paltry brain was a feast for worms, his cousin Jack Schlossberg is a whole snack, according to the internet this week. Here he is now.
She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, but she don't care.
Oh, move over, little Edie. There's a New England cousin in town with star power. Meanwhile, an unexpected part of Donald Trump's hush money trial has been rumors that the former president has been repeatedly farting in court. His lawyers refer to it as his right to remain silent but deadly. Or it's what I would call repeatedly pleading the fifth. We didn't say it was a grown-up show. Then this week, images of MAGA voters wearing adult diapers in support of Donald Trump made their rounds on the internet. The photos depicted Trump fans with shirts and signs bearing slogans like "Diapers over Dems" and "Real men wear diapers," with photos of the former president. Yeah, there we go. Trump's been out of office for years. He's still finding ways to increase America's toxic emissions. How can you not believe in climate change when your ass is responsible for a lot of it? On Tuesday, Stormy Daniels testified at Donald Trump's hush money trial following attempts from his defense to block her from describing the specifics of their alleged sexual liaison. Shut up, nerds. We want to hear about the fucking, or the lack thereof, or the failed attempts. Trump's team complained to Judge Juan Marchand, "There's just no need for these kinds of details here. There's real questions about the credibility of this woman, but, this case is a case about books and records." Yeah, the book is Kama Sutra for Mushroom Dick Dummies, and the record is Let's Get It On. Come on, let's hear about the nasty stuff. We're not here for the bookkeeping. This is just another example of Trump not letting a woman finish. Prosecutors reassured the court in terms of the sexual act, it will just be very basic. It's not going to involve descriptions of genitalia. They added, but I mean, we have to admit we want to know all those details, please. During her 5-hour testimony, Daniels recounted spanking the future president with a rolled-up magazine and recalled them not using a condom. Yeah. Although it's not surprising, it would be hard to get a condom to fit on a rolled-up magazine. There you go. Now, this is relevant for the fraud case because in his itemized tax deductions, Trump listed one condom. Meanwhile, I feel I should put on a condom while just thinking about any of this. As for the sex itself, Stormy said, I was staring up at the ceiling, wondering how I got there. I mean, this isn't how you know she's telling the truth. Every story about having sex with Trump sounds like this. There's always a freeze frame, a record scratch, and then the voiceover about wondering how they got there. Although, seriously, how did she get up on the ceiling? That's what I want to know. The adult film star also attempted to make jokes during her testimony to lighten the mood. Unfortunately, according to the New York Times, they did not land. In response, Judge Mershon threatened to sentence Daniels to UCB1 if she persisted. Although in her defense, what has two thumbs and stuck them both up Donald Trump's ass is a fun setup, but you know where it's going. Meanwhile, down in Florida, Judge Eileen Cannon indefinitely postponed the trial for Trump's... You people read the news, don't you? She delayed the trial, postponed it for Trump's classified documents case, which was set to begin on May 20th. Apparently, the judge heard about the farts, decided it's not worth it. Cannon, who was appointed by Trump in 2020, said she wanted to resolve the case's various pending pretrial motions. The delay means Trump will most likely not go to trial for these specific charges until after the election. Whew, said Trump while reading this news from a different court where he is also on trial. Also in Florida, Barron Trump was chosen to be one of the state's delegates for the Republican National Committee in July, 2 months after he graduates high school. When reached for comment, former President Donald Trump said, I am so proud of Barron, my only son. Barron's sort of doing the evil version of a gap year, but instead of backpacking, he's going to ruin the country. Although this young man is kind of everything that we wish Donald Trump had been, barren. 2 weeks ago, President Biden signed a bill requiring TikTok be sold to an American-owned company or face a potential ban from U.S. app stores. Then on Tuesday, TikTok and its parent company, ByteDance, sued the federal government, claiming the law violates the First Amendment rights of its users. Mr. President, please do not infringe on my personal liberty to lose hours of my precious life to process videos of a Finnish man cleaning windows in a way that I find pleasing. I need him. My family needs him. I don't know who I am without him. The filing said, for the first time in history, Congress has enacted a law that subjects a single named speech platform to a permanent nationwide ban. But that's probably only because my insurrection staging app, Gather, never made it past the prototype stage. I couldn't find funding. My mom said no. Columbia University canceled its main commencement ceremony this week in response to the ongoing student demonstrations against Israel's invasion of Gaza. In the end, Columbia called in the NYPD and hundreds of cops removed 46 students from a building on campus and arrested over 100 protesters. Meanwhile, students at Colombo University agreed to leave on their own but added, oh, but just one last thing. According to the Associated Press, over 2,600 protesters have been arrested on 50 campuses since April 18th. And I just want to say college kids should not be arrested for speaking up about the horrors of war on the Quad. They should be arrested for selling a kilo of cocaine to the 19-year-old social chair of Delta Tau Delta in the week before spring formal. That's the America I want to return to. Kids dealing coke. On Wednesday evening, Marjorie Taylor Greene initiated a vote to oust the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. While doing so, she received a huge boo.
Office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant.
Truly, every second Marjorie Taylor Greene spends not performing as a legendary heel in the WWE is a complete waste of her God-given talents. Like the Undertaker's daughter, maybe? I'd buy it. MTG's attempt to give Johnson the boot was quickly shot down with a 359-43 vote, with 11 Republicans siding with Dems to block Greene's attack. Said Marjorie later, "Boy, I haven't been booed like that since my kids learned I was getting custody." And maybe the most bizarre news of the week, earlier today, Dr. Phil announced a very special sit-down interview set to air Thursday night.
My interview tonight from Jerusalem with Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is very important. I want to make this easy for people to see because I think it's very important and very informative.
I'm with you. It is so troubling to see such a monstrous demagogue who's caused so much human suffering casually sit down and do an interview with Netanyahu. The Ryan Gosling action comedy Fall Guy bottomed out at the box office, pulling in only $28 million in its first weekend. The financial flop gives Hollywood the weakest start to the summer blockbuster season since 1995. And I just want to say, how am I going to break it to my kids that a movie based on Lee Major's second best show from the 80s isn't tearing up the box office? Meanwhile, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, was re-released into theaters and was so successful, it came in number 2 after Fall Guy, above Challengers. Which sucks for Challengers because we know how much it was hoping to come in between those two. Peacock has ordered a new mockumentary series set in the same universe as The Office. That's right, you guessed it. Get ready for young Phyllis. No, the promise of the series is that the documentary crew that immortalized Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch is in search of a new subject when they discover a dying Midwestern newspaper and the publisher trying to revive it with volunteer reporters. And I would actually watch a show about this documentary crew and why their careers seem to have not progressed at all. Maybe get out of the Midwest, folks, and hold the camera still. Also this week, Universal dropped a new trailer for the Twister sequel, Twisters. And to get people really talking about it, they dropped it right on an unsuspecting town in Kansas. The trailer confirmed some of the rulers and shed some light on the movie's title. This time around, there will be more than one tornado. Spoiler alert. In an interview this week, straight actor Nicholas Galitzine said he feels bad for taking queer roles. For example, playing a gay prince in Red, White, and Royal Blue. But it's weird because in high school, he was voted most likely to play a gay prince. I got that one too. Said the idea of U-Star, I felt a sense of uncertainty sometimes about whether I'm taking up someone's space and perhaps guilt. At the same time, I see those characters as not solely their sexuality, which makes sense to me. I mean, as long as the jokes are funny and the crowd's having a good time, what should it matter who's straight? I mean, come on. What do you say, love it or leave it, fans? Cis hat can be hilarious. This week, after a devastating 2018 fire destroyed part of the National Museum of Brazil, Swiss-German collector Burkhard Pohl gifted the museum 1,100 Brazilian fossils for its collection. That's right, you heard it, 1,100 Brazilian with a B. That's a lot. A Brazilian? It took me a minute, too. Fun fact, Brazilian fossils are just normal fossils, but just a little bit of pubic hair. Butthole clean as a whistle. In Amsterdam, McDonald's revealed new billboards that smell like hot French fries. There it is, a photo of somebody sniffing a board. In response, In-N-Out revealed that their fries will still continue to taste like Billboard. Not to be outdone, Taco Bell revealed billboards that smell like diarrhea. Taco Bell, come on. I love it, but it's punitive. According to Adweek, the billboards smell like hot French fries because they contain an internal heat source and actual French fries. Best of all, in a week or two, they'll be able to reuse the billboards to advertise hot rat shit. I really hope Joe Biden will call me because I finally figured out how to beat Donald Trump at his own game. And finally, after several lawsuits, Panera Bread has decided to discontinue their hyper-caffeinated lemonade that has killed 2 people. But they are pleased to announce the latest addition to their menu, a gun and a bread bowl. And now next, we have a little segment that we are calling America's Least Wanted. It puts me on edge. This week's GOP Failson, it's Tim Sheehy. This election season, Republicans in Montana are looking to knock out Senator Jon Tester, the only Democrat to hold statewide office there, and he's also got one of the finest flat tops we've ever seen, in an election that could determine control of the upper chamber. And they think they've got just the square-headed man for the job, Tim Sheehy. Sheehy wants voters to know just how tough he is, and not just because he looks like a microwave Jesse Plemons, who is an evil Fortune 500 CEO with chronic constipation. A big part of Sheehy's tough guy self-mythology on the campaign trail is a bullet he says is still stuck in his arm from serving in Afghanistan. And he talks about it a lot. Big deal, Tim. I have a piece of undigested ham stuck in my bridge work, and I don't crow about it. And it's gross. It's gross. But Tim can't keep his story straight about where he got the bullet. Back in October of 2015, he told a park ranger at Montana's Glacier National Park that he accidentally shot himself in the arm that day when he dropped his gun as he was loading it. I mean, come on. We've all been there. Who among us hasn't been out in God's perfect creation and then accidentally fired off a round into our own fucking arm? All right, yeah, none of us have done that. Now she is saying what he told the park ranger was a lie to protect his fellow SEALs because he actually suffered the bullet wound in 2012, and he wasn't sure if it was from enemy fire or friendly fire. He reports this in his 2023 memoir, Mudslingers, but he can't make up his mind about how many times he was shot, asserting that he was hit by multiple bullets in one passage and then just one bullet in another passage. And look, I never served in the military, and I get it. Math is very hard. But I do pride myself in being able to say with great certainty the number of times I've been shot and by whom, and whether or not they were family members. But that's not the only thing that's deeply creepy about Sheehy. Despite railing against Biden's handling of border security, the man has, on at least 3 occasions, told supporters he wants to get rid of the Department of Homeland Security. He also wants to get rid of the Department of Education because education makes you read books, and books make you gay and make people ask dumb questions like, well, wait, how did you get shot? It doesn't add up. She is also extremely pro-gun and opposes any form of gun control. And he's especially supportive of your right to shoot yourself in a national park or for one of your platoon mates to shoot you, whichever you think sounds more believable. Tim also said he wants to return healthcare to pure privatization. So, you know, when you shoot yourself in the arm, your surgeon will be the invisible hand of the free market. On the topic of abortion, he has been cagey, but has repeatedly called abortion murder in the past and was endorsed by Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, a group that has pledged to only support candidates who support a full national abortion ban. So does this guy have a shot at a Senate seat? He's been endorsed by Donald Trump. So the question really is, Montana, do you want your state in a set of capable hands, or in a set of hands that bobble to Colt 44 like a children's party clown? And maybe that clown was juggling a bunch of Colt 44s. This is Montana we're talking about. Who knows what people do over there? Well, either way, if you want to make sure this guy and other guys exactly like him don't get into office, then head over to votesaveamerica.com 2024 to save democracy. This has been America's Least Wanted.